Hello everyone, this is Runzi and you are watching ColdStart. Earlier this afternoon, I just took delivery of the all-new 2020 Porsche Taycan for the next few days, all courtesy of Adriano from Porsche Center North Toronto. I mean, he even gave us a gift bag to go with it. I got a pretty large glass bottle. I'm gonna use that a lot. Got a notepad, a Taycan brochure, which I'll read about this later on, a USB keychain, and a miniature Taycan. I mean, this thing has some pretty good weight to it. I guess brand difference, right? It is currently almost midnight. I'm about to meet with the crew to shoot some nice night cinematic shots of the Porsche Taycan, and we'll see how that turns out. Good morning everyone, it is currently day 2 and I am on the road once again in the all-new Porsche Taycan. And after our shoot last night on the way home, I had this moment of realization of what Porsche as a brand truly represents. And I've watched countless amount of articles, reviews, blogs, videos from automotive journalists, and quite honestly, until you actually get behind the wheel of this saloon, it's very difficult to understand what they're saying. The Porsche Taycan was a concept car called the Mission E that was announced a few years back, and with the actual production car, it came very close to the original concept rendering, which I feel like a lot of the manufacturers don't do. The Porsche Taycan is fully electric, it's not the first electrical performance car on the market, and it definitely won't be the last. And I remember when Tesla first came to the market, the hype around it was huge. It lasted for a very long time, and to this day, they're still creating hype with their new products, very innovative, and the design is very avant-garde and refreshing. And other manufacturers tried to come into this market, but I believe it was very unsuccessful, like the Jaguar I-Pace or the Audi e-tron, and quite frankly, it went over my head, and I didn't really pay too much attention to it, as sad as it sounds, right? And with the arrival of the Porsche Taycan, it remains a hot conversation piece between automotive journalists, enthusiasts, and your everyday consumers. And looking at it, quite frankly, from the outside, it looks like an art piece that can be belong in exhibits. And I don't know too much about electric cars, but I know there's a lot of innovations and technologies inside this Porsche Taycan, and I want to share with you guys some of my personal favorites. The exterior and the interior design of this car is more than futuristic. I mean, it looks like a freaking spaceship. Everything about the exterior design is aerodynamics. The vents underneath the teardrop headlights invites air in and reduces overall turbulence at a higher speed. And you can find directional fins behind the rotors, which invites air in and redirects them into the rotors, which further cools the brake down. I mean, how freaking cool is that? And moving on to the interior, right away, you're invited by this 16.8-inch curved digital display, something I've never seen in a car before. And depending on your seating position, the steering wheel may block some information, but all you really need is your speedometer and your G-force, right? On your left and your right hand side, there's some touch buttons that you can play around with, your lighting and your driving controls. To my right hand side, you have a 10-inch infotainment system display, digital, and below it on your center console you have an 8-inch display. What's really cool about this design is that the gear selector is actually right here on the right hand side, and the design aspect is to create an additional cup holders in the center console. And the coolest part about the center console is that it's divided into two. The upper half is your climate control and the lower half is this touchpad that is responsive to the icons from the infotainment system. And you're gonna notice, guys, everything around here is a minimalization of buttons, so as little buttons as possible, with a few remaining on your doors, your memory seat options, and your power windows and your power mirrors. And this is what Porsche call it, the advanced driver cockpit. Looking up ahead, I noticed a very large panoramic sunroof, but what's really interesting is that for a camera, it eliminates shadows and highlights, so we have a really nice color inside the car versus some of the other cars when we film. We have to turn the car a certain way to eliminate shadows and highlights in here, things like that. So this sunroof actually helped us film me a lot better. One of the most impressive innovation inside the Porsche Taycan is the batteries. It's ready to perform at any given moment as soon as you turn it on, so you can do this right away. Okay, we're gonna do the launch control right now.
What's the speed?
Holy shit. I think I stopped at maybe 110. It's like when you go on those roller coasters and then it just jolts you right away into speed, or when you go on those bullet trains. Oh my goodness, I think it's a very, very big improvement from the launch controls from before because I'm not shaking. I think I made some personal improvements. Oh. Even though the batteries are super impressive, they offer nowhere near as long range as the Tesla Model S, especially the Tesla Model S long range, which almost doubles the driving range of the Taycan Turbo and the Taycan Turbo S. The batteries itself weighs about 1,400 pounds and the Taycan weighs over 5,000 pounds. To put that into perspective, it weighs 1,000 pounds more than the average pickup truck. And to achieve the same amount of range as the Tesla Model S long range, you need to add an additional 1,200 pounds of batteries just to achieve that. But quite frankly, is it necessary? In my opinion, the Taycan Turbo is absolutely perfect because as soon as you put your foot down on the accelerator, this electric saloon becomes a Porsche. So we made a quick stop at a local charging station found on the app Charge Hub, an app that you definitely need, especially if you own an electrical vehicle. So you're gonna find two different kind of chargers at this charging station. One is the AC charger and the other one is a DC charger. Now the AC charger will charge slower than the DC charger because the DC will charge directly into the battery versus the AC charger that needs the power to be converted and then it'll be charged into the battery. This 800 volt battery allows for fast charging, which can charge 60 miles or 100 kilometers in just 4 minutes and up to 80% range in 15 minutes. Of course, you will need a DC fast charger to accomplish this. What's really smart that Porsche did is blocking 12% of the battery size, a reduction to 83.7 kilowatts per hour from the full 93.4. In comparison to the Tesla Model S, the user can have access to 100% of the battery. The benefit of what Porsche did is producing longevities to its batteries. When you're fully charged battery, it deteriorates slowly over time. The original 100% will result in only 90 to 95%. This 12% block also helps recuperate energy when braking. Think about it, if you have 100% of the batteries charged, the braking won't add any benefits as there are no more room to recuperate any more energy. And that's why Tesla suggests the users to charge 90% for daily use and only 100% when going for a long road trip. Okay, Let's get back on the road.
Bruh.
One great benefit of driving an electrical vehicle is how quiet the cabin is. Granted, you need to pair that with tires, with the suspension, with the whole overall build quality, but driving the Porsche Taycan is actually very enjoyable, although the silence doesn't really bother me. I know it kind of bothers other reviewers, journalists, kind of feel like there isn't the gasoline combustion sound to it, but you can bring that kind of aspect into an electrical vehicle. So there's one cool feature called the electric sport sound on the Porsche Taycan. So by simply putting it on, it gives you what the electric engine or motor is supposed to sound like. And to be quite honest, I really enjoy this sound, and it's somewhat very realistic. It reminds me of whenever I got on the bullet train or those train with the magnets. At the beginning of the acceleration, you have the whirring noise, and then afterwards you're like, oh wow, this has a great amount of resemblance to that sound. Very natural. I like it a lot, and it doesn't sound fake whatsoever, and it gives you the additional connection between you and the Porsche Taycan. A brand new technology that Porsche introduced are the Porsche surface coated brakes. No rust, no fade, and low dust. The rotor is a regular cast iron rotor treated with tungsten carbide, a material used for cutting tools, ammunition, and jewelry. Porsche pairs the surface coated rotors with only white calipers to show how less dust you will get from these rotors. The tungsten carbide is only about 0.1 millimeter thick, and once it wears through, you need to replace the rotors. They will typically last 30% longer than the regular cast iron brake. A 1 millimeter wear for both sides is allowed for cast iron rotor before it needs to be replaced. Another important factor to consider is that the surface coated brakes does not require more brake pedal force as the rotors and pads heat up versus the regular cast iron brake. That means the driver does not need to press the brake pedal harder and harder with each more aggressive braking. In comparison to the carbon ceramic brakes, you need to warm it up before it reaches peak performance. Overall, I think this fits in between cast iron brakes with the performance of the carbon ceramic brakes without the price tag. In conclusion, the reduction of the rotor fade is an improvement for performance. As my day come to an end, I'm currently driving back to Porsche Center, North Toronto, where I'll be returning the car. I mean, wow, what an experience. And thank you guys once again for coming along with me to this journey. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you liked our video and my take on the new Porsche Taycan, give me a thumbs up. And make sure to stay tuned for weekly content. See you guys on the next one. Good morning, everyone. It is currently day 2, and I am on the road once again in the Porsche Cayenne. Whoa!